Freedom sounds like a luxury word, like something for rich people or lucky people or the influencers with the fancy cars and the big following. It is not. This is about your time, your choices, who gets to decide how you live. And this is why it matters more than just another raise. We are Caleb and Mary Beth Lutz, former teachers, now in real time, building out the income and influence resources we wish someone had worked with us on sooner.
So today we are going to talk about why career and income freedom actually matters. And we're going to look at, really what it means to be free and what freedom actually does mean. We're going to look at why it matters more than just getting a raise at your job and really what's at stake if you ignore it. And we will have also some good news at the end about all this. But we're going to go ahead and dive into first, what it actually means by freedom. And I know we've had a lot of discussions about this lately because I think there's this idea out there that freedom is, the private jets or, just not ever having to work again and just doing absolutely nothing. But I think we have kind of a different take on it.
Yeah, and some would call this flexibility, but as a compare contrast, this is not once again, living on the beaches of the world forever or you never have to do another thing in your life. It can be that for some people, but I think freedom starts with being able to say no if your boss is asking you to do something you don't want to. The ability to say, hey, this environment is not what I want my kids to grow up in. I think we should move. The ability to say, hey, whatever that scenario may be, here's a client of mine who's asking me to do things, who's only getting to me last minute, who only talks to me when they want to. I think I can find a client who's a better fit. It's so much more about having the income to make the choices that you would make if income wasn't a factor.
100%. And if you think about it, at the end of the day, most people trade a very precious resource to create income, and that's time. Mm-hmm. We always say we want more time, right? Well, we all have 168 hours in a week. It's not like we can just create more time, but you can utilize the 40, 50, 60, sometimes 70 or 80 hours a week that you are putting towards creating income and actually give yourself options by doing things like diversifying. So time with people that you love who are still around, that is absolutely invaluable.
Yeah.
To have the freedom to be able to spend with them, or maybe there's a family situation where, you are able to help. Maybe parents are going into retirement. Maybe it's a slower month in sales, but you're not sitting there freaking out because you have extra income coming in, or sadly, maybe if there's a layoff that happens.
Right.
I think it's more peace of mind about the finances at the end of the day.
I so agree. And it's I think once you have that flexible income, I've heard it called the FU income before, but it's the choice income. It's the ability to say, hey, taking this time with my sister or with my dad who only has so much time or whatever it may be, this matters more. It's restoring that choice back to you versus only having it in one income. And I really think that segues very well into the second point of why it matters more than a raise. And very simply, a raise is still tied to your primary income.
Yes.
So if anything, if you guys have heard of the golden handcuffs, it chains you even tighter to that one place that is providing your lifestyle up till now.
Yep.
And if you're only getting more and more income from one source, all of a sudden you're like, man, I don't think I can even find someone else who would be able to pay. I don't think I can risk starting over again. And more of your choices are going out the door because you're paid really well, and either you or your family is used to living at this style of life, and they don't want you to take a pay cut. They don't want you to start over again. They want you to have all of this extra time or the benefits tied to that one job. And again, this isn't against any one job. We want employees who are loyal to us just as much as anything, but we absolutely want them to have a choice and keep it with an open hand that if you find a better fit, we want you to do what's best for you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with, we did this where we developed ourselves. We grew ourselves. We took mentorship, and in our active day jobs, we make significantly more income than we did years ago. There's nothing wrong with making a lot of money where you are, but what's the cost of making that at the end of the day? And, freedom at the end of the day, it's not having all your income in one place. And so when you do get that raise, again, I kind of say it's kind of an interesting analogy, but it's like a raise, if you feel like you're in a cage, the raise makes it feel just a little nicer. You're like, ooh, it's a nice little cage.
A little comfier.
Yeah, comfy cage, right? But freedom actually hands you the key. And it's like, hey, you don't have to stay here. And so that's why it matters so much more than just a raise for freedom. And the thing is, too, like, I think this is important, too, of kind of our next point of what's at stake if we actually ignore this portion. Because a lot of people, when it comes to money, and we've chatted about this, but depending on how you grew up, it could be the thing that if you never talked about it, you don't even want to like think about it or bring it up. Or maybe it was brought up in very stressful, tense situations where you don't have good memories of it. But what's really at stake if we ignore the potential of financial freedom too? You know?
Yeah. Well, what I see so often with peers who are maybe a little bit ahead of us is the midlife crisis.
Yes.
We're young in mid-30s now, and folks who are hitting 40 and 45 and realizing they have only ever done the one system.
Yep.
I think it's a lot more common for our generation, and especially those younger than us, that you're only at one place for so long. There can be a bit more of an entitlement mentality there that doesn't help someone long-term. But it's the like getting to a point where you've realized either that you've job hopped and it's not fulfilling, or getting to a point where you realize you've spent all this time with one place who's paying you a little bit more year over year, but that every choice you have is tied to them. And so you can call it midlife crisis, you can call it burnout. Yeah. That is such a real factor.
So real.
A friend of mine, he even has his own agency, but just this year, in his mid to late 40s, he took the first family vacation he's done in 10 plus years. And I'm like, good for you for doing it now. And also he talked to me about how just the impact that's had on his family and his parents being very near, like this may be one of the last times he gets to spend with them. And it's just having that realization that you may have put all of this work, all this effort out into one place that is only getting you so far. So,
and I think sometimes we can think that there's a destination or a trajectory that we can go to. I have a story coming to mind is I heard at one time of a man who he was promoted to CEO, and the same day he was promoted, his wife sent him a letter that she wanted a divorce, and his kids let him know that they never wanted to speak to him again. And you just hear a story like that, and you're like, yes, chasing something is so, so important, but what's at stake if you ignore, diversifying, giving yourself time, living by your values versus just trading all of your time to go after an ambition? I mean, if you're a CEO, your time is very much at that company. Like, talk about handcuffs there,
Well, it's all on you.
All on you, 100%. Yeah. And again, it's the trade-off. And so maybe it's even being, one emergency away from real trouble. Yeah. Maybe it's where a family member is really, really struggling, and maybe it's the last time that you would see them. And, we never want to think like worst case scenario, but when you have financial freedom and flexibility, when you're not completely tied to a job, if you did have to go up and help someone, you could actually do it. Imagine if you couldn't. So those are just some of the things that are at stake, and they are very real. We've watched people walk through this.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. This
is kind of the final transition here, but the good news is freedom is habits. Freedom is very learnable.
Yes.
So many of the wealth building habits are just that. They are actually habits.
Yes.
The same energy it takes for you to live in poverty, the same energy it takes for you to live in the middle class and be comfortable there is the same energy that it takes to live a wealthy life. It's just learning those practical skills and being willing to commit the same way you would commit to a middle class work ethic. Yep. It's being willing to commit to a work ethic and to following those things, even if they may not make sense at first, but that actually lets your money work for you. So I think it's not overlooking those little small pieces that compound over time. The setting aside $50 a month, as you have talked about, that your dad had you do from a young age, that I never saw. It's just not overlooking those little things.
Yeah, and I mean, that compounds over time. And the habits that you choose to develop, that all compounds over time. Great book, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, just a shout out there. One of my all-time favorites.
It's a good read and reread.
Yes, and I think I reread it at least once a year, actually, because it just reminds me of, at the end of the day, a lot of people think it's an overhaul to become rich and free, but it's the small daily choices that you choose to make. And those little options you start giving yourself can truly be built by making those choices. And, that's the point of why we started this channel, is we wanted to give people the resources for them to make the choices to change their life. And if you do want to check out any of those resources, I know today we talked quite a bit about, what we actually mean by freedom, why it matters more than a raise, what's at stake if you ignore the freedom, and just some of the good news that you are closer than you think, and you just need the resources to get there. So some of those resources are going to be on our website. In the description box, you will find a link to our resources page. A couple that are really helpful. Freedom Budget Tracker is the number one that we always recommend starting with. You can find what's called your escape number, and that actually is what the number for you would be for you to have the freedom that you're looking for. And it's really where freedom stops being kind of a feeling and actually starts being a concrete number for you. So, yeah.
It's so good. All right. Always remember, guys, freedom is not a luxury. It's the choice. It's the choice, and you always do have that choice to change your life if you'll make that decision, if you'll go all in there. So
it was great being with you today.
Great to see you guys.
We'll see you soon.